this response to the attack we're seeing here, military personnel with guns rushing to the scene. Of course, the situation, a harrowing one for people who live in this area, Pahalgam, but also for tourists who were there, of course, enjoying their holidays, enjoying time in Kashmir. We are now joined by Adrian Calamel, a terrorism scholar and fellow at the Arabian Peninsula Institute, who is joining us from New York. Adrian, harrowing scenes, of course, that we've been showing. This area in India, Pahalgam's described as the Switzerland of India. Tourists, domestic tourists enjoying their time and enjoying a holiday. Can you talk to us about this type of terrorist attack and how significant it is given the loss of life?
It was under better circumstances here. Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of these type of attacks. This was again a soft target for terrorists. It had several. If you look at several situations on the ground, you had the U.S. Vice President visiting the country. You had the Prime Minister of India, Modi, outside the country at the time. You also have the recent extradition of an individual, one of the co-conspirators of the Mumbai attacks. And this is all coupled with the whole fact that, Pakistan has been doing this for a while now, using terror as an instrument. So we saw this with the Nova Festival on October 7th on a much greater scale. But I hate to say this, but I think we're going to start to see more and more of these type of attacks, especially when you see next door to India, you have Pakistan, and next door to that, you have Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, there's complete blindness there as to what's going on, or there's an unwillingness to be aware of what's going on. And let's face it, that becomes an Islamist jihadi highway going to your borders in India. So this, and the strategy here is to cause obviously terror, chaos. It's to ruin Kashmir, to destroy it, and to make it a place that people don't want to visit, and continue to put pressure on the government. And it was direct targeting. From to sow division, as well as the other element that you saw here, is that this was based on religion. It was based on religion, who was being executed, and who wasn't, and this was made very clear. And this is another aspect of it that is. It's frightening, but that's the terror aspect, and we need to know the enemy that we're up against, and that is the enemy. That is the face of the enemy. That's the same face of the enemy as Hamas, who's trying to open up, and probably they've been in talks with Islamabad about opening up a consulate, an embassy in Islamabad. So when you keep company like that, that's what you're going to continue to produce.
Adrian, I want to look at the fact that these 4 reported gunmen, we believe it is 4 terrorist gunmen, are still at large. A manhunt is underway. What are the ramifications of that? Could we see a potential further attack, or how will these terrorists stay in hiding? Can you talk us through that situation?
Well, yeah, that's always one of the great concerns, is that they attack one direction and then pivot off and attack in a different direction, or they seep back across the border and there's another attack team that's waiting and positioned and to draw security forces in a different direction, while that team maybe then re-enters in another area. So it's fog of war right now. We're really trying to grapple with the situation. But we saw with the Mumbai terror attacks how a very well planned, coordinated attack in 2008 paralyzed that city by going after the terror chief who is responsible for counterterrorism operations. So, yeah, it's these type of terror attacks, especially when they're directly on the border with a state sponsor of terror, makes it extremely difficult to defend against, continually defend against. And that's where I think some people are starting to say we need to start playing some offense against these terrorists, such as Lashkar-e-Taiba, which most people believe it is that group. By taking out those terror camps and those training camps wherever they are, wherever they exist inside Pakistan.
Yes, Adrian, you alluded to the fact that, of course, Modi was outside of the country. He's cut his Saudi Arabia state visit short to return and hold a security meeting. Of course, he's now leading this investigation. How significant is that, given the conversations that were taking place, but also the fact that he's come back to lead this operation against these terrorists who are still at large?
Well, one, that's a sign of a true leader. He's coming back to the country, and that's what you would expect of your leader, but not every leader will do that. That's number one. Number two, we have to look where he was. He was in Saudi Arabia, and he was, you would have to imagine that conversations were coming up about the IMEC corridor. And the IMEC corridor is not something that the Islamists, the jihadists, and that group is on board with. So they will do anything in the world to disrupt that type of those type of conversations. Just like people were saying that October 7th may have been an attempt to break up some type of Abrahamic Accords talks between Saudi Arabia and Israel. So you always have to look at, the lines of connection where these are in the geopolitical landscape, because terrorism at its root, it's to terrorize the population, yes, but it is a political act. It's to move the political needle in one direction or another.
Adrian Calamel, thank you ever so much for joining us